What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So the men's open bodybuilding prejudging of the first Olympia qualifier of 2026 that is now underway. So this show was of the utmost importance, especially with Quinton Beastwood trying his luck for the 5th time this season to win a pro show. This would be his first pro win, secure his Olympia spot for next year, and have a big off-season ahead. Then we have the return of James Hollingshead with a brand new coach, as well as the most anticipated men's open bodybuilding debut of the former classic physique competitor Stefan Matala. So what a coincidence that he got to stand right next to Hassan Mustafa, the Egyptian tank, who is the real mass monster in this show. So they were together in that initial call out. Now massive size difference between both these guys. But Stefan has a very tight midsection, and it is kind of surprising to see a veteran like Hassan Mustafa doing such a horrible posing mistake. So all that effort that these guys put in the gym and in terms of dieting and being regimented, so why the least amount of effort in terms of posing and presentation? I mean, that is what matters, and you can see that in those quarter turns from Hassan Mustafa, because in my opinion, Hassan Mustafa could have executed that pose much better than this if only he would have invested more time into posing as he does in training. So when you have a guy like Quinton Beastwood with such supreme aesthetics in a show like this one, it's kind of super hard to take your eyes off that physique. But that being said, I must say, we have seen Quinton in a better conditioning than this one. Very possible that he tried to come in way fuller and way rounder and way more muscular, as the thing is that strategy that did work in his favor in the past. So he actually did a very awesome job of bringing a very nice combination of sharpness, decent enough conditioning, but also more size. And I have got to say, even that back double biceps, which we all know is a weak shot on him, that actually is looking pretty damn impressive on Quinton tonight. And to say that the man is able to coach himself in all these shows and do so well, that has been so unprecedented, especially in the recent past. Before you scroll or blink too hard, have you subscribed yet? Please don't make me bring out the emotional blackmail. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. It's free, it's painless, and that makes me look way cooler than I actually am. So the major concern that almost all of us had in regards to Stefan Matala, that was absolutely right. That although the back on him is much improved, but he would still struggle to keep up with some of these guys, especially in the men's open in France Pro. And that is exactly the case here. Just look at the size difference between him and Hassan Mustafa, especially from the back. Hassan looks to have about 50 pounds on him, but nobody in this France Pro lineup is gonna have more muscle quality than Stefan. I think he's probably gonna have the most impressive, most muscular shot among all these guys. But that being said, the conditioning from Stefan Matala, that wasn't also very impressive here. At least that is the case from the initial callouts and those individual posing routines. I guess him parting ways with Patrick Tour, his coach, especially this close to the show, that just wasn't the right call. But that being said, we will see how this plays out when they call these guys for the callouts. I mean, even if I ask you guys, did Stefan really nail his conditioning without Patrick? Absolutely not. He has the deepest chest striations even during his off-season. The metric to judge Stefan's conditioning, that was from his legs and from his back. He doesn't have those deep separation in his quads, and even from the back in the hamstrings and the glutes, they are simply not in shape. So most of his focus, that was getting the crowd involved as he was dancing on the stage in between the mandatories, which would have looked a lot better if he was 100% on, if he was truly in shape, which I'm afraid he just isn't. Now from the first glance, Stefan seems to have added some considerable amount of size, but he still needs more of that to be competitive in the men's open. So the one guy that I was really impressed, especially in terms of conditioning from the back, that is Sergey. I mean, that is how you nail the conditioning. So let's talk about the first call out. 6 guys with Quinton and Hassan Mustafa in the middle, James Hollingshead, Roberto Stefan, and the big Russian monster that I just mentioned, Danilov Sergey. So remember the update that James Hollingshead posted at 2 days out, in which his arms and delts, they were looking totally flat. Well, that wasn't a matter of him being very flat. Just have a look at this massive size difference in terms of size, the density, the thickness, the muscularity overall between the arms and delts of James Hollingshead and Roberto. And that is why I do not think that James will be even in the top 4 tonight. And neither will Stefan. They were both compared in the second call out, which only means one thing: they are fighting for 5th spot. So again, Hassan Mustafa would have given everyone a run for their money at this show if only he had his stomach under control. Without any shadow of a doubt, the most muscular man up there, the biggest guy up there. So how many times will the judges have to clarify to all of these IFBB pros that they are being judged at all times on the stage? And Hassan was letting his stomach hang big time on the stage. Now in terms of aesthetics, there wasn't even a comparison between him and Quinton Beastwood. However, this guy Danilov Sergey, this guy has got everything. If only he had bigger quads or more of an outer quad sweep, he could have made an argument of him winning this show. And Hassan Mustafa was actually moved out during that final 4-man call out, and Danilov Sergey was moved in. So Tim Budisham was also competing at this show, and he was in a decent condition. But unfortunately for him, he was unable to make into that first call out. So even though we have seen better version of Quinton, especially from the conditioning perspective, but I think he might have done enough to get away from the competition, and he might have just pulled his first pro win and his first ever Olympia spot. He has the best balance out of all of these guys. And again, I'm gonna say Danilov, he is going to be the breakout star of this year's France Pro show. I think this guy must be around 6'3", and he was harder, more drier than Quinton, especially in some areas. But first of all, he did not have as much control over his waistline during the transitions. And second of all, he could use bigger legs to be more aesthetic and to have more of that X-frame. But that being said, from the back, that guy is simply nuts. So there are some big structural issues with Hassan Mustafa, and unless he fixes that, especially the waistline and bloating issues, I do not think the judges will ever consider him for a win again. So France Pro will mark the start of new era with Quinton Beastwood qualifying for the Olympia 2026. So let me know what do you guys think of this show and the performance of all of these guys like Stefan Matala, Quinton Beastwood, and especially Danilov Sergey. Also hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.